chat about why school in a bag. What is it about education that is so important to you?
Oh, that's a really good question, actually. I think it stems from a change in my career. Really, I was a trained landscape architect and a garden designer,
Wow.
and my brother and I worked together. We studied together. We overlapped for a year. Then we worked for an independent guy, and we designed gardens all over the world. And it
Oh,
was fascinating. But I reached the point where I wanted to be doing it for me, not someone else.
yeah,
But my brother was very loyal and really didn't want the pressures of running his own business. So I started to become a bit disillusioned back in 2001, and I decided to go traveling. And I loved it. I mean, I became me. I felt like I moved out of Piers' shadow. Um,
yeah.
but I visited a school. So I met a group of teachers on a beautiful beach in Thailand, and they were a great bunch of international students and teachers rather. And they said, "Look, come and visit the school." And so when I got up into northern Thailand, I did, and I just really fell in love with the place. And
Yeah.
I spent 2 days there. I got invited in to help in all of the PE lessons. I had thought about becoming a teacher when I was younger.
Mm.
I studied geography and art and A-level sports studies in a PE diploma. And I was really torn between the sport and the geography and art. And I interviewed, but I did something which, for me, I think was quite sensible when I was 17. I interviewed all of my sport teachers and I said, if you had your time again, would you do what you're doing now? And all of them said no.
Really?
They all said, look, we love teaching, but it's very repetitive. We don't earn very much money. But we all came to this because sport was our hobby and now it's our career.
Yeah.
It's no longer our hobby. And they felt like their life was um, not so enriched because of that. And so I had this sort of dual decision to make. My brother was going down the geography and art route, and I tended to follow what he did because he did
Yeah.
really well. So I did the same. And I think when I got to that school in Thailand, it just gave me this opportunity to explore the idea of becoming a PE teacher. And, without doing any training in an amazing setting for a really fun year. And so I just said, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
What a great experience to go and live in Thailand for a year. And of course, you then get really involved. And I also worked in the boarding house and I started to form a real bond with the community, not only of the teachers, but also the students, of which there are
Mm.
240, and the Thai staff who were just charming. And I really think I fell in love with so many aspects of it that,
Yeah.
that I thought that actually this is something that is really important. If we can be molding the next generation,
Yeah.
then that's something that's really important. And then of course the tsunami happened,
Yeah.
and it just gave us that losing my brother gave us that opportunity to sort of hone that into it. And we didn't do it
Mm.
straight away. For 4.5 years, we put money into areas hit by natural disasters, but
Yeah.
we reached a crux point where we needed to do something else, and it just seemed absolutely logical to go back into running a charity that was
Mm.
that was really trying to enhance education for those children around the world that don't have the opportunities that my two girls have.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think, because I was thinking about this, because I before I do these, I tend to go look through the website and troll you all and stalk you all and get such information. Do you think that the fact that you can get these kids going to school with the right tools in some of these poorer countries, that they will help grow the economy of some of these poorer countries in years to come? That sort of ongoing thing.
Yeah, that's our hope,
Yeah,
and I know that at some point we are just hoping that a wonderful story comes out from someone who becomes a mover and a shaker in their own country.
yeah,
And they say, I can remember when I received this red bag from this charity in the UK, and that really inspired me to go on to become this. But I don't think it always has to
no,
benefit the economy. If they go on to become doctors and they save lives, if they go on to become researchers and
mm,
create medicines.
mm,
Interestingly enough, one of our closest partners in Nepal, a guy called Jimmy Lama, he can remember when he received a book from a VSO charity that was operating, and that was the moment that he thought, I want to become an educator and I want to make a difference. And so
Wow.
his charity now supports his community where he grew up. And following the earthquakes in 2015, they rebuilt 15 schools, of which School in a Bag co-funded 3 of them. And he's just that perfect example of people wanting to give back. We absolutely find that children that receive school bags, they're not aimless, these children, because they've got nothing. They have a very clear picture of what they want.
Yeah.
And lots of them want to give back to their local community, whether that's through being a nurse or a doctor or a teacher. Some of them, we've had lovely testimonials where people say, I want to become a pilot. And these are children who've got nothing, and yet they've got such clear aspirations. And
just I can imagine
if the Red Bag can harness that.
I suppose for me, I find exciting is the fact that children who have so little, for whatever reason, can have those dreams and then have almost a tangible something that allows them to move forward with that dream, even if it's just a bag with all your things in to go to school. We were in Africa at one point, we were only on holiday and visited one of the schools, and I remember actually being quite shocked that half the kids didn't have shoes. We were asked to take pencils and paper and stuff like that. It hadn't really hit home, and these kids wanted to be at school.
Yeah.
So do you think then that the way that the difference between the education in this country, where we have kids who actually don't want to learn and can't be bothered, and teachers that are being burnt out, and then this alternative of kids really wanting to go to school and their parents wanting them to learn, and all of this, that they have lessons actually to teach us?
Oh gosh, yeah, without doubt. We've said this in the office quite a few times, but I think it'd be a heck of a bold move. But if we were to bring back some sort of national service, it would be brilliant if you could pick up all the year 9 children in the UK and go and dump them out in the third world for about a month. And I think that would just solve so many issues, in terms of work ethic, in terms of social conditioning, in terms of attitude, acceptance. I really do think that it would be a great thing to do. The school that I taught at in Thailand, whilst it was an international school, it was linked to a school in Melbourne called Geelong Grammar, and they do a similar thing. In year 9, they go and study on a campus called Timbertop, and literally their year 9 is an outdoor ed style learning approach. So they have lessons, but they live in cabins, and they have to go and cut firewood, and they have to learn how to cook, and I just think, at that key time, I think that could have a real influence on the way that children become molded. We only see now so many children through social media. They have all sorts of issues that are just boiling under the surface, and if you don't address them in a certain way, they go on to have a really big impact on the rest of their life. And I think you're quite right. These children that we support, literally most of them have absolutely nothing. So they really see that an education is their passport, and it may be a passport between life and death in some areas. It may be a passport between, we live in poverty, and actually if I can get this job, I can support my family and we can just live a slightly better life. Whereas of course, my girls have everything they need, and we're blessed with living on a farm. So we've got outdoor space. I don't have a smart TV. I'm sure that's a bit of a crux, whereas Mum does. But
there'll be people gasping now, go, "What do you mean you don't have a smart TV?"
There's a lot of channels on terrestrial TV. But what we do find is that we have space, and I had a blissful childhood growing up on the farm with bikes and motorbikes, and before that horses, but you had to muck them out, ponies and things. And the farm, I really see the farm is just giving back to my 2 girls now that it gave me, and that is a sense of space and freedom, and we camp out in it, and so I'm hoping that that my girls will see that, and they won't get drawn into the world of
Yeah.
social media and TikTok. But they have two older sisters and that is their world. So it's way beyond my control. But
Yeah.
my girls are growing up far too quickly, in my view.
Don't they all? I mean, my grandson is he'll be 17 soon. I'm like, where did that go?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. But
And
my,
he had a
my
terrible time in education, awful time. So
oh, really? Yeah. I think some
I hope, this is my big hope during this, with so many kids at home now for a long period of time, that because I think our education system is broken. I think it's still based on that Victorian thing about, we need labour. And I wonder if, there'll be a change in thought about how we educate, because a lot of parents I've spoken to are enjoying home educating. My son-in-law, who I would never have believed, he's a typical West Ham, I don't know if you know the area in Bournemouth, West Ham lad with the family, and he goes out on a Friday night and he watches the footy, and him homeschooling, he loves it. He loves sitting with their youngest my youngest grandson and doing that. So do you think it'd be a great idea if actually this showed a different way we educate?
Yes, I think it will, because it's opened up these opportunities, hasn't it?
Mm.
Straight away. I mean, my daughter, who's in year 1, has had 3 Zoom assemblies in the lockdown. Is being chaotic, but it just does go to show. I think I think our education system, if teachers were able to just teach,
Yeah,
their jobs would be
yeah,
far easier. But it's just become an overload of policies and
yeah,
assessments, and you can see why there is burnout, because
yeah,
I think teachers come into the profession wanting to make a difference, wanting to inspire the next
yeah,
generation. And the system is just asking far too much from them and of them. I guess the only worry is that does this suddenly make so many parents become wannabe teachers, and will it raise the expectation that I think a lot of people have really enjoyed. Well, I've certainly enjoyed
yeah,
homeschooling. It is not easy when you've got 2 different children at two different ages, and you sometimes have to put them in 2 different rooms where your devices are.
yeah.
You just get one settled and you start with the other. Dad, um, but I just hope that that it doesn't add to the burden of
Yeah,
teaching,
yeah, yeah,
whereby suddenly everybody thinks, oh, I'll just drop my teacher an email
yeah,
at 3 in the afternoon, because
yeah,
I think this would be a great thing to do. But you're right, that I really hope that we get to a point where they look at the curriculum
yeah,
education, and maybe look to see if they can make some changes, because I know as an adult that there are so few things that I learned at school that I use
yeah,
in my day-to-day life. So is the education just a process of, here's a go at learning everything, and we need to make sure that you can learn it and pass an exam before you then move on?
yeah,
Or is it actually these are real life skills that you need,
yeah,
and let's try and integrate some more of those things into the curriculum,
yeah,
and make it fun, and make it as educational as you can.
yeah,
I have a slight incident with my 8-year-old daughter at the moment, and through homeschooling I've realized that there seems to be a block within her math ability, and she knows it,
yeah,
within her mental math. So I can say, what's 6 times 5? And she'll say 30. And I think, brilliant. And then I'll say, what's 5 times 3? And she struggles to work it out.
yeah,
So the process of learning, is something that she's going through. And I think in her maths ability, it's just
yeah,
taking a little bit of time. Now, if I say to Evie, come on, let's sit down, we need to do some mental maths, that's a nightmare for her. But if we can say, if we're on a drive, we can say, count how many
yeah,
telegraph poles you see, and start trying to adapt it
yeah,
into everyday life, then that's great. So hopefully, the education system might start picking up on
yeah,
some of these things. But if anything, I think it will really highlight for parents how difficult a teacher's job is,
Yes. Yes.
but also, just how we can look to integrate
Yeah.
the education into everyday things, and I think that's fundamentally important. It was, it was before COVID
Yeah.
lockdown, and
Well,
it's
yeah.
going forward.
There's so much more technology now in the world, and there are a lot of countries where technology is spreading out to its smaller villages and things like that. Do you see a future where actually some of these kids in the small villages can learn in the same way we've used technology here, sort of like Zoom? Australia have been doing it for years, haven't they? They schooled over the radio because it was too far apart. Do you see technology being a part of the new sort of way poorer countries can learn?
Yeah, I do, and we, again, this has been something that's been discussed and brought up, and questioned. How do you see e-learning working in the future for School in a Bag? And it's a tough answer, because there are countries that we support where the children still don't know what a pencil is.
Yeah.
And I've seen some initiatives. There's the Kio kit is a big box. It's got 30 iPads in it, and when you put them back into the box, they charge. It's really nifty. It's an African initiative, bright yellow, but comes with about 18 padlocks, because of course that's a very, very stealable resource.
Of course.
You then need to obviously get power.
Yeah.
So solar initiatives, I think, will become really, really important.
Yeah.
We're already seeing during the lockdown that some of our countries are having to embrace technology, even when they realise that there are faults within that technology.
Yeah.
In all, they're making videos. Teachers are producing little videos that they know not every child will be able to access, but quite a few of them will. In Sierra Leone, they're recording lessons onto the radio so they can broadcast them nationally.
Wow.
But in India, we've given donations to our partners there, and they've literally just gone out and bought stationery and then handed them out to children in the slums, because that's what they've got. So we might see, an even bigger divide through technology in our developing countries, where you've got that scenario of absolutely nothing to, I spent some time in Sierra Leone about 10 years ago, and people didn't have a house, but they had 2 mobile phones.
Crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
So, we will start to see that. I'm not sure smartphones and iPads are the answer for School in a Bag just yet.
Yeah.
But certainly, if we can get internet into schools, and we can get a projector and a computer, there's, we are finding through this lockdown that there is an abundance of online lessons.
Yes.
And resources. I mean, my little Iris, who's in year 1, we use Purple Mash, we use all sorts of cool. I mean, it's crazy what's about there. So if some of that can be utilized abroad, then you might still need to give each child a school bag so that they can copy down their work. But if the teacher can then project that work up onto a screen that's solar powered and not run by a massive, great big generator that you can't hear, then yes, I think there are ways in which e-learning will start to come to the fore, and this pandemic might just have accelerated that process.
It would be lovely, and I love the idea that if you put them in the schools, you've still got that group of people coming together and kids getting used to going to school. Because I suppose for them, it just the going to school and being in a different environment and learning and soaking that up and socializing.
Yeah, I think you're quite right. There's no doubt that I wrote to my Evie's teacher and just said, look, I've noticed this with Evie, and it could be down to a number of things. It could just be me as the teacher. So in a classroom, Evie has 2 classroom assistants and a teacher. And of course she has all of her friends and peers to help learn from. I got my grade in geography by copying the lad I sat next to, who wrote brilliant notes. And I just copied his notes, and when I came to revise, I was like, these are brilliant notes. Now,
You're sure you're of Sierra Leone? You're sure you went to the right country?
But, so children learning from other children, learning from different teachers, a variety of teaching. You know, it is really important, I think,
Yeah.
that they are in that environment. And so I still see children, you know, really, really desperate to get to school in the developing country. And but if we can just start to advance on one teacher in front of a blackboard with, you know, a projector projecting some really
Yeah.
exciting stuff that they still, you know, use school bags for, then that might be the first step towards it.